we are at the start of season 2, and we're going to start it in the same way as we did with our very first video and talk about strategy versus tactics, because A, it's one of our most engaged videos so far, and B, it's still unclear what the difference is for a few people.
And C, we've run out of topics.
Yes. So we'll recycle a few. Probably a winner.
Yeah, probably a winner.
So this week, for example, I had a chat with somebody who runs a marketing agency, not in this country, not anyone we're connected to, but over in Spain.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, yep.
And they were sending me strategies that they've written for their clients.
Yep.
And going, well, it doesn't feel right, what is it? And wanted to have a look at the structure of a strategy. And they were really nice pieces of marketing work, but not strategies. They called it a strategy, and then it was a bunch of stuff, right? A bunch of tactics and a very, very detailed plan of what to do and how to write a blog and stuff, which is not a strategy. So I thought it'd be useful to say what a strategy actually is. In its simplest form, it's one idea really well executed. This idea will move your business forward, and this is why. And then follow it like an arrow point and stuff.
You've got to have both. You have to have both here. And I guess, it kind of comes back to that old kind of cliche, which I may or may not have just made up now, that, all strategies have tactics, but the bit that causes problems is that not all tactics have strategies. And it's back to asking, what's the point of it? What's the reason behind it? What are you really trying to achieve with this? And what are the right things to do? What are the best things to do that? And if there isn't an overall plan, if that strategy just doesn't exist, then kind of two things happen really. Three things. You spend a load of cash on something, you get genuinely frustrated by something because it's not kind of working through, and actually kind of everything else is affected because you end up with no plan, no thing to follow, so you're just continually doing stuff. And because you're just doing stuff, your business almost becomes, I want to use the word unsustainable, and that's not kind of a bit of a kind of a grand thing, but you've got nothing to rely on, you've got no confidence in it, because all you're doing is just firing out some Facebook ads or doing some direct mail. Whereas when I would kind of equate it to having like a set of rails to follow. When you have you can do a thing, if it doesn't work, you move on to the next thing, but you're forever, you've got parameters for it. And again, this is why it is so important for us to talk about this again, because everyone we speak to, pretty much everyone we speak to, they're all focused on the tactics. Now, that might be because they've already got the strategy, but then when you hear kind of what the tactic is, you think, well, how does that relate back to what you're doing? And it is a thing I think that we will come back to again and again. It's important to come back. It's important that you guys look at again and again. You think, because the tactics are kind of entirely unimportant. They don't need the thought. They are just the tool to get it done. I think that's it. And if your starting point there is actually, well, we should run some Facebook ads. Well, look, that might be right, but why? What's the point of it? How is this going to fit into the stuff that you want it to do? And it is two things. One, if you just go tactics, it will not work in a sustainable fashion because there's no route. You're just doing stuff. And two, I think it will send you mad.
It will. I mean, I know from working with companies with internal marketing departments and like freelance marketers who I know and stuff like that, right? That if you're on some kind of wage or retainer, or it's your job to do marketing for stuff, right, for people, then you get judged on the amount of actions you take, which is pretty much the polar opposite or the contrary opinion of what a strategy is.
Yeah.
Its very kernel is a problem and how you are going to overcome it.
Kernel?
Yeah, a kernel, like a centre of a nut.
Yeah, I like what you've done there. Yeah.
Not a kernel.
Yeah.
I've lost my track.
Well, I think,
but you do get judged on importance, right? I had this conversation. It's quite a good little story with a marketing manager of a legal firm the other day.
Okay.
Who I went in to do some consultancy. I said, you just need some more like strategic development. And they went, yeah, but if I know exactly what thing works for this company, but if I get paid my 40 grand a year and 40 hours a week, and I just go, what, and then report what I've done, and I go, well, I've just done this one thing because it works. Right, this is the thing that we work. I can try all the new stuff, but we know this works, so I've just been doing it. Says, I would be sacked. I would not have a 40. It's a 2-hour-a-week job to make sure we still do the same thing that brings in the stuff. So I have to do stuff.
Yeah.
Right? I'm judged on the amount of things I do. If I go, I've re-advertised in this magazine because 80% of our leads come from that.
Yeah.
That's not a, do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's the strategy, right? Is the strategic bit is we solve that problem by doing this thing, by advertising in this place. But then there's all the stuff that supports that, right? Like the guys who are filming this, like mine, and Paul Inter, are really good at creating a core kind of advert, for example, a core kind of message, and then supporting it with other content. But that's the supportive thing. You support the strategy with more stuff, right? It's not more stuff. You need to prioritise. You need to have that weighted in the right direction. You know, the strategic, the core thing, the most important thing gets all the weight. Well, not all the weight, but, you know, a prioritised over all the other stuff, I reckon.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I get what you're saying, because, you know, that is the case with kind of internal stuff, and, you know, you do get judged on the stuff you do. But I think also as kind of, you know, people like us that do our own stuff, then, you know, there is not a pressure, but there is kind of,
it's social proof that you're busy, right? That you're doing loads of stuff.
But we're being told, and it is right, that you should try different things. That is important to get into different things. And I look, you know, I'm thinking of a guy called Mark, who has just sold a company, he's done very, very well. He is one of the most active guys I know. He does so much stuff. He does so many things, but they're all things within a strategy. There is a completely clear set of plans, and, you know, what Mark will do, he'll do 10 things, 2 will probably work, he makes those 2 better, and then does the next 10 things. But it's all into a specific point. There is absolutely, and it's been proved kind of by the sale of it, there's an absolutely crucial end point. So every part of his business that works towards that sale process, so, you know, the amount of lists, the amount of testimonials, all those kind of other things that you have, there's a plan behind each one, and everything is kind of brought in together, so all the effort is coherent. Whereas what we tend to see is people are doing strategy, I'll do a bit of that, and I do a bit of this, do a bit, and because there's no coherency of it, it gets expensive. One thing doesn't support the other, and as such, there's no kind of sustainability of win. It's like that legal company. If the thing that makes a difference is putting the ad in the paper, that's not the thing that makes a difference. The thing that makes a difference is people seeing that ad. So kind of your strategy becomes, how do I get more people to see that ad? It's like if you've got a really, really good converting website, is that English? Doesn't matter. If your website converts really, really well, you're a huge part of the plan, the whole part of the strategy. How do I get more people to the site? You know, what are the things that I do to take the people I've met networking to that site? And you just have this, you know, everything becomes about the thing that works. It becomes the plan, you know, it becomes about that thing, and everything else kind of feeds into that.
That's it. I mean, the advert was for their I think, their conveyancing drop-in clinics or something like that. So it's to get them in front of a conveyancing before they're thinking about moving a house, right? And it converted loads. So the advert, like Paul says, wasn't the actual thing, but doing that, you know, knowing that having an advert in the middle of the property pages is the way that they do that most successfully.
And we've spoken about this before. I sell coffee. It's the only thing I do. I go and have cups of coffee with people. And so my entire strategy is based around that. And in there I've got, 10, 12 different tactics that are all about that. But I know that's the thing that works. And I think, you know, that's the difference between, I know people do exactly what I do, and they're trying to sell stuff online, and they're trying to do this. And they've got these 10, 12 different sporadic things going on, but there's no kind of point behind it, because none of them point to a thing that works. They just kind of
Which is the most important thing.
Yeah, they have the stuff going on. And again, this is why, you know, this needs revisiting kind of all the time. If you haven't got a proper plan, a proper set of actions, a proper strategy, a proper roadmap to follow, I think it's just going to get harder and harder, because, you know, people are getting better at this. People are, you know, your competitors are getting much better at this clarity of thought, clarity piece, and doing less things well, and you're just starting to disappear into the mix. And I think, as you know, we're not too far away from, you know, lots of businesses starting to kind of disappear into themselves, because they just haven't got it. They're trying to do it all. They're going to crush. Life is definitely getting busier. Business is definitely getting busier. Trying to do too much without, you know, kind of a single point, I think is going to start to crush some people.
Yeah, I do. And that's where the prioritisation stuff comes out, right? And the not focusing on stuff. Like, focus on doing one thing really well, 2 things really, 3 things really well, whatever you feel comfortable with. But it's that focus that a strategy brings, I think.
Yeah, and all that thing is designed towards making X happen.
Yeah. Good.
That'll do.
Thank you.